have an item.
Okay.
So you've heard of Blur. I think it's where I heard
Blur?
Abine Blur. It's Abine.com.
Albine.com.
Abine, Abine.
I'm not recognizing it.
Because I'm sure this is where I heard about it this year, a couple of years ago.
Well, that could have been anybody, but
Anyway, it's to do with that conversation we had a couple weeks ago about credit cards and temporary credit cards.
okay.
Like when it needs an email,
Yeah.
you can use this. It generates some god awful email that will bounce to your email all the time. It's just like your own regular email, only it goes through them and comes to you. So if you're tired of it, you just go over to Blur and say, this one's discontinued, and then nothing comes anymore. And it will generate huge passwords that it keeps track of for you as well.
Oh yeah, I did this now. I'm watching
But
streaming channels.
in the paid version,
I got that US TV, which is in Philadelphia. Nothing.
oh,
Right on.
you know that's just going to come
So they got
crashing
that
down.
awesome action movies,
You know that.
every damn movie they got.
Still, I'm doing.
He's still going to do it. I know, he just got a longer cord. He's dying to try it.
That's right. Let's see what we got here. Yeah.
When I stopped by yesterday, see that little power port right here?
Oh yeah.
It's come unsoldered inside. You gotta wiggle it around. Do you ever use solder?
You know, I do work on devices like that. You'd really do good to find like a cell phone guy, like my brother-in-law. He does that kind of stuff all the time.
Where's he at?
He's in Wymus. He's got a shop behind Electra called the Computer Hospital.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know where the Electra, the big yellow building? So there's a street, a one-way street coming back towards San Carlos behind it. If you go behind it, it's on the right, almost, it's a little before the Electra building. But there's parking on the left and his shop's on the right. He would totally be the right person.
We'll get together when you get back. How long
Okay.
will you stay?
I took my phone in and said he couldn't do it. First week of March.
Okay. Let's get together.
I need another longer cable, I think. Another cable.
Talking about this Thursday? So I have to come back.
I got a lot of running around here trying to get insurance in my car.
Okay, so a week from Thursday.
Not showing much.
I go through Lewis and Lewis out of California for Mexican insurance.
This is for a Mexican car.
Oh,
Who we got?
I just got a Mexican car.
We got the top of my head, and a couple guys in front of me.
Okay, thanks.
You guys are making me feel like I need a third camera now.
Oh, geez.
I wonder why we're having such connection problems. It's a camera.
You're on camera.
I got the studio back.
Which check protection?
Yes. Yes. I'm very excited to have my computer back. I got the cameras again. Okay. Hope we don't.
Somebody's going to stumble over it. Trust me.
Okay. That camera's going to come crashing down, and I'll be out $80.
But it's been fun since you did it.
Yes. I was hoping to get him to sit a little bit closer to it, so if it did fall, it would fall on you can just catch it.
Yeah, notice you cut Bob right out. You know. Oh no, there's his shoulder.
That's all Bob wants me to put on camera.
Hey, I got a story. I travel. You put that up there. I got a story for you.
Okay.
You're great.
I'm late? No, I'm late starting. I've been here.
He's been here fooling around with his camera.
I have been. I'm just so happy to have my computer back. Testing 1, 2, 3. Hello, everybody. It's me. We're at the San Carlos Computer Club, and I've arrived with my Alamos Music Festival shirt. China. So how's everybody this morning? Everybody's ready for tech topics this Tuesday here in Tequilas. I like the iteration. It sounded really nice. What's that? Let's talk politics first. You guys were deep in conversation when I came in. I didn't think anybody even saw me. Was that all just politics?
Is this a good time to tell my story?
If it's tech related, please share.
It is.
Fine.
We were in Guadavitas last week, and we walked by on the street. We walked by two guys that were sitting, one up above, kind of on a post, and there was a Christmas tree that was up above. It was a little Christmas tree with lights, and the guy was sitting there with his handheld, and was plugged in to the Christmas tree lights up above. And I thought, only in Mexico. He was getting his electric tree
Out of the Christmas tree lights. Yeah. That's great. In another 10 years, he'll be plugging his electric car into the Christmas tree lights.
Have you ever seen the wires like around here?
Right. Well, they're going to be secondhand, beat up U.S. Electric cars that have been dumped in the Mexican market. Bob, what was that last one? I'm sorry.
Oh, Ed said you got to go to Pizzeria and see if there's any wire up their house.
Oh.
Yeah, the big wire is always the hot wire, right?
It's always the hot one. That's because it doesn't pop like a fuse when you touch it.
It works.
Well, electricity is always one of the nemesises in this country. It seems like every computer job I go into, if I've never been there before, the first thing I have to do is check electricity, check grounding, make sure things are wired in the right polarity, make sure people have surge protectors and voltage regulators, because it's always the number one problem around here. The number one computer problem I run into is electricity related.
Is that because of is that because of 120 to 127?
It's because of 120 to 136.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or more.
All right.
Averaging 133.
Yeah, it's
I go from my Kodi box or my Roku box to my router with the Ethernet. I get 38 on the computer, but I only get like 18, 19 on the Roku box. It's wireless.
well, it could be wireless interference. There's an interesting issue that Gary's been dealing with, where the speeds going across both his Roku and his Android box are diminished, even with a cable, than what he's getting on his computer. And we haven't yet sorted that out. Has Scott had any luck sorting that out?
No, I might get them over today to take a look at it.
I'm starting to feel like we might be able to think that the internet provider is recognizing some of these devices and trying to dial down the speeds.
I was going to call him yesterday to set it straight because it looked like everything was working normal. And by the time I thought of that, it crapped out. And today trying to do the same thing.
The Scott, the TV Scott.
Okay, TV Scott.
TV Scott. Bailey, thank you, James. Bailey, Scott Bailey.
TV provider, Telmex.
No, we're talking about using.
I said internet provider.
Yes, well, no, it's Mega Cable, isn't it?
I'm using Mega Cable.
Yeah, Mega Cable.
No, yeah.
So,
And I know another person with the exact same problem on Mega Cable. But Scott says that according to him, he doesn't have, and you can take the same gadget, plug it into any medium, and then
see, that sounds like Mega Cable might have started filtering and throttling, like recognizing traffic from illicit sources, or even it'd be interesting to see if that's just Roku, just looking for the Roku box and dialing it down.
Or that
I have
particular
eight,
style.
normally I have 8 or 6 from, the phone company, and my radio city works fine all the time.
On Telmex.
Yeah.
Well, and Gary wasn't having any problems until recently, right?
Well, I've got an Android that right now, when you click from channel to channel, it's like that. I've got a Roku in another room that won't hook up wired for some reason. And it hooks up wirelessly, but there's not a signal that it picks up and deal with. So I really don't know.
Could be ways that they're outlaw roadblocks and all.
Could be the modem too.
Well, it's definitely something we need to pay attention to because I haven't experienced anything like it. But you'd blame it on Wi-Fi, and then you hook up a cable and you have exactly the same problem. And you go to the computer and you can't find a problem. And the device, I mean, it's not like it's a complicated device. It's one of those either works or it doesn't. It's
Yeah, and
plugged
all of
into
the
it.
time that I was having that problem, the computer sitting right there next to the TV was fine. We showed 28 megabytes coming at it.
More than enough to do what Gary's trying to do with the Roku device
On
or the Android
it would
device.
only spit out about 4 or 5 channels and everything else was kind of went away.
Yeah, definitely just anecdotal at this point, but if any of you start experiencing things like that, it would be good to share because we might be narrowing in on something going on, some goofiness
One
going
thing I'm
on.
noticing is that last year, the year before, around 5 o'clock to 7 or 8 o'clock, the speed would drop way, way down. And I'm not noticing that this year. I think it's probably because they did some upgrades. Yeah.
You know, undoubtedly, upgrades are always happening because equipment dies and needs to be replaced. It's always been one of those topics that's very frustrating because you want more speed, and they often will come out with more speed at a higher price, which does low rate. Why are we having connection issues? Thought we had this whole place figured out.
You talked about it then.
Don't blame my computer. It just came back with a new battery. Operator error. That's right. No, that's really odd that it would be having problems.
Speaking about old computers, how do you wipe an old computer in order to
With a
donate it?
cloth and Windex.
The cloth and Windex. I like baby
Use the
wipes.
microfiber ones or the other ones?
Doesn't matter.
Yes. I'm going to answer you.
There are,
I just know Bob will keep talking through it if I don't answer.
no, on this very topic right here. Oh, wait.
Having a domino effect here.
On this very topic, there are some houses that have fiber optic cable right to the house,
Yes.
okay?
Here in town. Unbelievable.
We have fiber optic cable in the street,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And then we have telephone wire that comes to the house.
Mm-hmm.
Would we have better service if we paid them to put in fiber optic cable into our house?
Well, yeah, theoretically.
Theoretically.
But what they're offering you doesn't require much more than what you've got. What you'd have to be, see, and that's one of the. I mean, theoretically, fiber optic to your house is a better solution. There would be no radio interference. There would be the wind blowing wouldn't loosen connections. There's no corrosion. There's no interference from your phone line. So theoretically, it's a more sound way to do it. Now, practically, it's cheaper for them to offer you what you've contracted through your standard DSL connection. And it's even better now that they've got fiber optic right up around the corner from you, because they've got all the advantages of what I was just describing to the post, and then they have a circuit there that runs through your area. So that post is almost like your last mile, whereas before they put fiber optics there, your last mile was to the phone company. So you'd have to go all the way to and so there's so many different places for you to have a problem. Whereas you've got fiber optics all the way up around the corner, well, then it's probably only another 100 meters to your house or less.
We didn't pay for any connection at all.
Mm-hmm.
We had fiber, but then I know that there are a lot of areas which didn't have anything, and they were forced to pay for fiber optic into the house. And I wondered, because I still get a lot of buffering from
I'd say it's worth it,
the
though.
system that Ed sold.
I bet they won't install it. You can ask, but I would bet Telmex won't install fiber optic to your home on request unless you are purchasing one of the packages that absolutely requires it, like the 100 a month, 100 megabits a month package. Then they would not be able to provide that to you with the DSL. They would have to give you a fiber connection to their. And what they might even do is they might see their fiber switch and see that there's so many of your neighbors using traditional connections across that switch that they can't give up that bandwidth just to you. Like they might just say 100 isn't available in your area. Yeah, but it's possible because you have fiber right around the corner from your house.
Could this be an analogy that goes from fiber optics to the phone cable? It's like a 1-inch pipe and a 1/2-inch pipe?
I think the pipe analogy breaks down in this case. The
Pressure would get greater, though, bigger and smaller. But
yeah, I mean, if you wanted to use the pipe analogy, you'd have to assume that there was this infinite reservoir building pressure on the other end. And we deal with so many nuanced problems outside of that, that's just not a realistic analogy to use. Fiber's better.
so I got fiber optic in Canada. I get 250 megabytes coming at me and going from me.
Oh.
And it hasn't switched a single time since I got it early last year.
For me, an analogy would be going from spinning hard disks to SSD drives, because you suffer from things from a copper connection, like I was mentioning, loose connectors, corrosion, crosstalk, radio interference.
Loose memory chips.
Loose memory chips, that was a fun one. Whereas the SSD drives are solid state, no moving parts, nothing to heat up, use a lot less electricity, less subjective to movement. Well, not subjective to movement, like spinning drives. So you're in like a different world when you're comparing light to electrons, electrons, photons to electrons, light to electricity. It's just a whole different kind. The problems with fiber optic are expenses of installation and maintaining. Like you can break a line of fiber and bring down the caracal. It's right, and I mean, everybody's off the internet until Telmex can get out there and fix that fiber link. The different kinds of problems.
Whenever you're ready for a new topic.
Okay, well, let me answer your question. It has gotten so much easier since Windows 10 to prep a computer to hand off to somebody. So first off, if you're running, yeah, if it's a Windows 10, what you can do with your computer is you can shut it, or you can restart it holding the shift button down. And that is very similar to how you used to hit an F8 on the startup. It will restart the computer in a kind of diagnostics mode, or recovery mode. And you can follow their menus there until you get to reset computer. In fact, now that I'm saying that, it's much more simpler than that, because you can start the reset process from in the settings of Windows 10. In fact, since I've got Windows 10 in front of me, let me just go into settings and find reset this computer. So I did a search at the top of the settings window for the word reset, and what comes to the very top is reset this computer. And you can it's got a get started button to reset this computer. It will get you into the same mode I just described, and then you'll have the option to format the computer blank, like you're going to hand it off to somebody. In fact, they use some language like that. It'll give you no more than, I think, 2 choices. And one will be to hang on to your files as a backup, and the other will be to wipe it clean. And then the other option after that will be wipe it clean like you want to start again, or wipe it clean securely like you don't want people to be able to recover any of the data that was on it. And it warns you that that would take a lot longer to do. But what I imagine it's doing is zeroing the data on the hard drive so that it can't be recovered using a recovery program.
Rewriting zeros and ones on the.
Yeah, all the blank
the tracks.
space, yeah.
If you format a drive with the operating system on, does it leave it alone or does it take it out too?
If you, under Windows 10, it uses what it's got to build a new copy of the operating system. So all your apps disappear, your user account disappears. For all practical purposes, you have reinstalled a new operating system.
So you start with a blank disk, not one with an operating system.
For practical purposes, yeah, that's the way to think about it.
That's kind of scary.
What if it's an older computer?
Well, if it's an older computer, you're kind of at the mercy of the manufacturer how easy it's going to be. Because hopefully, the name brands like HP, Dell, Lenovo, Gateway, they typically provide a recovery partition, and you can start up the computer under that recovery partition, and reset the computer back to the way it was when it came out of the box. If it's an eclectic computer, kind of compiled together through the years, it's much more difficult. You almost have to find your Windows disks and reformat it as a new computer to guarantee that there's nothing left on it from you.
But the reformatting, does that rewrite over the tracks or that?
Well, it does, but it doesn't do any of that secure stuff like that.
So someone could go in and recover the data.
That's right. Yeah. Yep.
Like the old Norton, if you erase the file, it would just change the character at the beginning of it.
If that was a genuine concern, then I would search out a tool after you're done with the reformatting to zero out all the free space, because anything that's not free has been used by the new installation, so you don't have to worry about that. But this free space that's left, because of the way things are deleted in a hard drive, they're not actually deleted. Their references are deleted, and so sophisticated people using software can find that information just by restoring references to it. So if you had a genuine concern about handing off your computer, that somebody might take the hard drive and start scavenging it for any data it can, then you'd want to get a utility that could fill all that free space with zeros. And the utility you got would depend on how sophisticated it was, and how much you paid for it, or whether it was free, would depend on your real concern. Organizations like the NSA or the FBI, even your local police forensics, have the ability to look at something that was just zeroed and still recover the data from the zeros. Because of the way those spinning drives, their magnetism, how it leaves traces behind, you can reverse a zeroing and recover lots of data that were still in those platters. Platters is the word I'm looking for.
Sounds like a hammer is a good alternative.
Drill.
Yeah, I would say before.
Hard drive and shoot.
I sure wouldn't waste a lot of time with it. There are a lot of times I'll put a hard drive out for somebody because they want to hand off a computer and they don't want to worry about that kind of stuff. And so I'll just remove the hard drive and hand it to them, and then they can decide what they want to do to it.
And where do you donate these old computers anyway? Schools? I don't know. Are they taking the old computers?
Yeah, schools are just into, I'm sure you have plenty of people in your life that would take, even if they didn't use the computer, it would have an amount of value in their life. They would hand it off to a cousin that knows what to do with it, or they would trade it for something else they need in their life. But in this culture, it's just very easy to hand off a computer, especially if it's within the last 7 to 10 years. It's really easy to hand it off. The older ones are slightly more difficult to hand off. And I always think back to a lot of times we'll put equipment at the curb because the curb just people walking past will grab stuff. And my most depressing memory was when I realized the CRTs had no value. I stuck it out at the curb. Nothing wrong with it. Works great. Maybe it'd be a great monitor for someone that couldn't afford a monitor. Sat there all week. Garbage man came by. I'm like, well, they must have thrown it away. I come outside. There's pieces of this monitor all over in front of my house. I mean, I had to pick it up. It had so little value, they decided to play soccer with it.
See televisions and monitors at yard sales, sign says free, nobody takes it.
What's extraordinary in the States is that Best Buy takes all that stuff back for free.
Yeah.
It's incredible. What a service.
Yeah, back home, whoever thought we would be in that day and age where we were like, what do I do with all this e-waste?
Yeah, because it costs money to take it to a municipal dump.
Right.
Another $20, $25.
Now there's recycling bins right at the front of the Best Buy back home, and
oh, really?
I just stack things there. VCRs. They try to limit it. They've got like waste bins there with circles, and you look at it and you're like, well, I can't get that to fit in there. So you stack it on top.
They're very, very good about that.
Well, I brought a couple of topics.
What about the one that you asked?
What were you going to ask? Bring your topic.
Okay. A lot of us have fluorescent lights. Okay?
Okay.
But they have the LEDs. I've heard that you can convert a fluorescent light fixture to LEDs. Sherry says that one of her relatives said you just put in a LED light right in the fixture without removing ballast or anything, and it'll work fine. So
I've never heard of this. This sounds like an awesome thing to be able to do. It makes sense that you might, the same way we're replacing
I know
traditional
that
light
Home
bulbs
Depot
with LED.
will do has a kit for it.
Interesting.
And so I thought, well, I'm going to find out about it.
Well, then we will expect a report on your fluorescent to LED conversion.
Okay, you'll blow my name.
You're talking about the tubes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We use the same things back in the bed and breakfast, and it's always a game each season. It's like which one's gone out this year, and you have these huge tubes you got to deal with that. They're under vacuum,
And you can't buy very many fluorescent lights. Sherry has a 36-inch fixture in her kitchen. She can't buy a bulb for it. Everything's LED.
How much
Interesting.
savings is it?
Well, if you replace with LED, theoretically, you don't have to replace that bulb again.
That's right. That's the only advantage.
Well, I mean, besides low electricity and bright, intense light.
13 watts will give you 60.
It saves a lot.
I
had LED lights in my camper. I had them in my mask. So you don't know. Not exactly. But
I put some on my house last year. They were $35. They're good for 10 years. And they use $5 of electricity a month. And they throw off a lot of light.
Yeah, the traditional LED, or I should say the LED bulbs that replace your traditional incandescent bulbs, you normally look at them on the package and they're rated at a certain wattage. Like this is the equivalent of a 40-watt bulb, or this is the equivalent of a 60-watt bulb. But then they have their own rating saying, but actually uses electricity like 5 watts, or uses electricity like 10 watts. Yeah. And so we would find the same kind of ratings for things. Oh, hey, Judy's got some.
Well, I have the info from a website.
I read it on the internet.
LED lights will save 20 to 50% or more in what?
20 to 50%.
20 to 50% more, or less.
Or more.
Or more.
Saving 20 to 50 or more in energy.
Or more in savings.
It's like throwing out your beer fridge.
Yeah.
You have to remove it and put in a transformer.
What the hell are those Spanish guys doing?
No, yeah, the ballast puts out a real high frequency. You wouldn't want to use that on an LED.
Well, yeah, the ballast really threw my thinking off. It's like you'd have to.
You have to bypass it.
Yeah.
Because I think LEDs are like 12 volt DCs, and the ballast is a real high voltage to excite the fluorescence.
Yeah, I think LEDs are traditional are even lower voltage than that,
I
aren't
was
they?
thinking the ones in the kitchens, those little strips.
Yeah.
12 volt DC.
I think they're 5. I think they're 5 volts DC. Yeah. I think they're even smaller than that.
You know, they're dimmable and remodel the kitchen.
Yeah, and used all LED.
Dim, you know, it was really dim and dank and dark, and put those in, and I had to put dimmers on. It was too bright.
You can buy those like at Home Depot, right?
I think that's the thought. I haven't seen them. Yeah. The ones that replace the traditional incandescent bulbs are at Home Depot right now. Easy to use.
But not the fluorescent, because I took mine home and been carrying it around for weeks now, because I'm really handicapped in the kitchen. This is
Oh no!
major lighting for my cooking.
In Canadian Tire, which is
You might be replacing that fixture regardless.
Oh, it's so awkward. It's built in underneath, behind the cabinet.
But let me do off and off.
We bought them on
Go to Home Depot and to buy LED under counter lights. Kits like $50. Big Don last year put them in under all my counters. Spent $50 and he took $25. For $75, all my cabinets are lit underneath.
Nice.
Very nice. It's all low voltage, but
Yeah, that would be ideal.
Are you, is this one of those kits with the remote control? You can change the lights.
Change color.
Oh, change color.
Yeah, change colors, flashing. There's like a disco happening under the stove.
You're shopping in a different store.
No, well, I got some lights for my wife for Christmas because she loves illumination. She loves Christmas decorations, and so on Amazon Mexico, I was able to get these rolls of LEDs, high intensity LEDs, and it has a remote control and
Like a rope?
yeah, like a well, not, but thinner than that. She's able to use Scotch tape to tape them up to the wall around.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then from a remote, you could flash them or change colors or cycle through colors. Yeah. Yeah, very cool. And she just rolls them up and she brings them to whatever party she's doing and rolls them back out and tapes them up. And
Wouldn't be enough to put it over my kitchen sink to cook fire.
it would easily be enough.
Yes.
Yeah, they're. I'm trying to think. I think they were 15-foot rolls that I got her.
Gee,
Yeah, and
put 3 stripes up there.
you'd probably have too much light with one. Because they're high intensity. Put them in the barbecue area, and it was like daytime out there.
Some of those strips
And
you
you
can
just
cut
attach
to.
them with tape.
Yeah, I mean we've been treating them as temporary,
Right.
but you could easily use them in a permanent situation. You just have to mount them appropriate.
If you cut to fit, then you would
can
only
cut to
have the
fit.
partial
you
section.
can cut to fit.
You can.
Yeah, the rolls that I got, they actually, every so many LEDs has a connector interface that you can use scissors to cut through. They really are intended for doing detailed work like in an auto vehicle or around a picture frame, so that you could really choose how you wanted to use them. They're very versatile.
And then the piece that you cut off is also operational, or is that throwaway?
I believe it's operational, but it requires some extra rigging.
Can I get that resource from you?
Sure, yeah. I mean, you'll want an electrician on your side if you want to tackle a project like that, because what you get is very raw. It's a roll, a strip of lights, a connector, a power source, and a remote control. And then it's up to you to figure out how to fashion them the way you want them. They'll light up right out of the box, no problem. Just plug it into the power. The remote control works right out of the box, too. But as far as like your specific use, you'll need somebody that's creative that can connect wires and put them where you want them to be.
Yeah. And the remote
No,
would the remote cause a function in only the one that's connected to the power supply, or would the strips that you have removed be non-functional after that?
Again, I think that comes down to some wiring harnesses and some sophisticated thinking and how it's connected. But I believe that what you can do is you can extend just with wires and connectors. You can extend that strip, like to say you wanted a strip here and a strip here. You would extend a connector over to that other strip, and then it would be affected by the same remote control.
It comes like a stick, or do you get one roll, one remote, one connector?
Well, that sounds like a kit to me. I don't think those two concepts are mutually exclusive. Say again?
Can you buy the parts separate? You know, like if you wanted to make another.
I think I paid 350 pesos for one kit. So that's like $17 for like 15 feet.
I have both, and you can dim it, and I have it right out of the box, strips that long. I don't have what you have.
Yeah.
To do what you have to do, you really have to have some knowledge. You have to be an electrician.
Well, let me say again, it comes in a roll. What I got you, was it comes in a roll, and at one end has a connector. It just plugs right into the power source. That roll lights up. The power source has an infrared LED receiver, so you can plug it in and immediately start changing colors, turning it on or off, flashing it. I mean, it's got some pre-programmed stuff in it, so you can flash between colors. There's kind of I mean, just to give you an idea of, like, right out of the box, you can do that with no sophistication. And I only mentioned some technical expertise if you wanted it for a very special purpose, like I want to run them on both sides of the kitchen, but want them on the same remote control. Well, then you'd want an electrician to help you do something like that. There's nothing in the box that talks about how to do that. There's nobody to hold your hand while you're doing that. I would get an electrician involved.
Can you extend the original rope, plug another 15-foot?
I imagine you can, using the same kind of technique, that you would have to bridge those with some kind of wiring harness. No, not like, and I think what you're describing is like those ropes of Christmas lights we used to be able to just, and at $17 for 15 feet of smart lights, there was nothing like that in the kit. It looked like you had to build that kind of interface yourself.
I have LED lights in a closet and in a display area in the house. And what I did was I had three lights. And I didn't want three lights, I wanted one. So I cut the wire, figuring that it would work. There's a transformer. When I cut the wire, it would not work. So I had to put it back, and I have two lights in the closet that don't do anything. And now it works.
Okay.
So the transformer was sized for exactly the load.
Hey, a buddy of mine on Twitter, some of you guys have met him, he's been here before, has passed me this is Theo in New York. He's passed me the LED fluorescent light replacement. So that he says, but replacing our 32-watt T8 linear fluorescent bulbs with 20-watt LED requires some tinkering. Removing the ballast from the fixture wires, leaving enough of the black. Theo, I don't understand what you've done here. Oh, homepower.com. Okay. Homepower.com. Thank you, Theo.
Yes, thank
See, somebody's listening.
Somebody's listening.
You're the last
We've
one.
got one listener. Welcome to the club, Theo.
Say it one more time.
Homepower.com.
See?
The article is Changing Fluorescent Tubes LEDs to LEDs.
There's also YouTube on those LEDs. When you cut them, you have to solder little wires on to.
Motion sensitive light bulb.
She found it on YouTube
Oh,
how to make it.
the light bulb itself is a motion sensor.
Oh my God.
Motion sensitive light.
That's great.
Okay, so come upstairs from my house, I go, start down the stairs, light comes on, go through a room, light goes on, go into the garage, light goes on, I do the laundry or whatever.
That's awesome. Can you ballpark what price you think?
It's like $12 a bulb.
That's
Amazon.
that's amazing.
I didn't hear what he said.
Motion sensor LED light bulbs. This is how Paul has saved money. Is that he's replaced regular incandescent bulbs with motion sensor bulbs.
Yeah, I've used motion sensors for a long time, but with 4 kids, those 4 lights would be on all day.
Right.
They were responsible to turn them off.
I had to just do that to my daughter. Why'd the light turn off? I can see her on her tablet in her bed just waving at the sky every 10 minutes.
As long as you're active, it's all right.
Yeah.
If you're doing laundry and you sit down and read a book while you're doing it, it's going to go out.
Yeah. Well, tell me, what happens when you use a covering with it? How do you deal with, like, maybe like my wife would want something attractive in the stairwell. No, so you have to leave a bare bulb to take advantage of it.
Okay for outdoors.
Yeah.
Down here, because then I just go out my back door and regular light fixtures, which are partially covered. I don't know how well it's going to work.
Well, what would be, in this vein, you would think that they would have an option, like you could buy a motion sensor bulb that may have a protruding sensor that, like on the end of a wire or something.
Knob on the end of the bulb. It looks like a regular bulb.
Okay.
A little flouting on the end.
I've been really interested in these security camera bulbs that function as light bulbs as well, but where you plug their Wi-Fi webcams that you screw into a regular incandescent light socket, and they're motion driven. When you walk past them, the camera comes on. They have 180 to 360 degree views, and they've been selling in the United States on Amazon for the last year and a half.
They have remote wall switches that do the same thing. You walk into a room and turn the light on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That would secure your covering problem.
Right. You'd replace the light switch, not the bulb. Yeah.
The biggest users of LEDs are right out there in the marina. So most all the boats now. Oh, absolutely.
I hope you're not bored with me, Theo. He sent me a big smile going, I'm bored. I'm like, I hope that's the reason you're listening. Not, it's the reason he's joined us today, is he's got nothing else going on.
Can I ask about ordering on Amazon? I was on the other day, and I couldn't get to where I wanted to go. I was just shopping around. But I put in Zapatos, and I couldn't get shoes. I forget what else I put in. It was just going all these little tangents off of the board I was putting in there, instead of like an actual pair of shoes. What am I doing wrong?
Wait, say that again?
When you go on the search, you like put in TVs, and then it goes right to TVs.
Yeah. Yeah, you're talking about on Amazon? I'm actually on Amazon looking at the motion sensor bulbs that Theo just sent me.
Punch that in, motion sensor bulbs, and it went right there.
In fact, his literal search on Amazon was bulb with motion sensor.
Okay.
And it went straight to tools and home improvement, light bulbs, LED bulbs.
And that's on Amazon Mexico.
Yeah, that's Amazon US, but
Okay.
Mexico acts the same way.
I was having troubles. I couldn't get around. I couldn't navigate the system. Like I said, I wanted let's try shoes. So I put Zapatos in, and it didn't get there.
What if you spelled it in English?
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
don't know. As I'm talking, I'm thinking maybe I should try it in English.
try it in English. I was just gonna suggest that because I definitely do a lot of that on the Mexican site too. I can't come up with the Spanish terminology.
So you use the English, you get it.
At the very least, I will get to a result that's been translated correctly, and then I can use that translation for my searches.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I didn't know the word zapato, I could put in shoes, and undoubtedly one of the results would say zapatos, and I would copy and paste that into my search.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll report back next week.
Okay.
I did something on my watering system in my house. You know, you have the little switches that control lights in your house. They've been around for quite a while. I got a heavy duty one. I set it up for my pump. Because most of the day, you have city pressure, right? So in the evening, it dies. Set up now, when it dies, I just go hit a button anywhere in my house, turn my pump on, do my dishes, take a shower, then turn it off, go to bed, and so I run the pump.
Only when you want to use it.
Only when you need it,
Hmm.
and the rest of the time and they're like,
Have you got one of those compression tanks?
yes.
Yeah? Okay.
So it doesn't, it hardly runs at all. Maybe, I got it down to about 10 minutes a day, if that.
Interesting.
I found the trick too, when the water supply runs out and your pressure valve will come, you take the little split valve out of the tank, hold it up like this, and then turn the pump on long enough to fill the tank.
Watch out. I've replaced 2 pumps using that trick because I forgot to drop the the floater back down into the tank. Yeah.
As long as it's in that position, when the pressure switch kicks it off, it just kicks off.
I don't understand.
Well, you left it up and ran out of water.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
he
what
ran
I'm
out of
saying is I
water.
ran out of water.
Oh, yeah.
I left it up and it ran through all the. I live in the Ranchitos. We get water twice a week. Sure, Bob.
How many of you people Miracast?
Miracast, you're talking about what's built into now a lot of Samsung TVs, but comes with Windows 10. You're able to display your desktop on a TV set.
Right.
Yeah.
You do. Okay. I know it. Okay.
Miracast is Microsoft's version of it.
Okay. I've done it. Okay. So
We do it at my house with our
half a dozen
phones.
people in this whole group at Miracast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In other words, that's putting what's on your computer onto a TV. Okay? Can you take something from the TV and put it onto your computer?
No.
Can you do reverse?
No.
Ed says he thinks there's a program to do that.
Well, there is.
You gotta have a recording device of some sort.
You have to have it. You have to have an out from the TV.
Yeah.
Same
with audio.
So typically, TV is out to you. TV is always receiving and broadcasting on the TV. But it's unusual to find a TV that you can rebroadcast, like send it to another device. Okay, do you follow what I mean? Like a TV is normally a receptacle for information, and then it displays it on its screen. So it's always bringing information. There's very little interaction going out. Now with smart TVs, that's really made that whole. You do have some interaction, like you're able to send out a click on a Netflix video so that it'll start streaming to the TV. But what you're proposing is something that would be a feature in a specific kind of TV that would allow you to export to broadcast out other than the screen.
Smart TVs ought to be able to do that, right?
No.
No?
There's no assumption that you could make of that, and that's the kind of the distinction I'm trying to make is I wouldn't doubt in the future or even now there may be models of TV that satisfy that need, but it's definitely not one of those standard feature checklist things that you find on a TV set.
Well, I know I can hit pause, and I can stop the picture. Now, this isn't for regular TV. This is for Netflix, or this is for whatever. And Roku is my smart.
Mm-hmm.
My smart. So I've wondered if I could take. I've been places where they have artwork that's displayed on TV.
Okay.
And I've wondered if I could take and pause something I saw on the TV, and then have it go over to the computer, and then I can save it.
Hmm.
You need a program like
That, I mean, those kinds of activities you can definitely do. You can set yourself up with equipment that would allow you to have that kind of experience. But a device like a Roku isn't built to do something like that. Your TV's not built to do something like that.
Probably a lot of legal issues too about copying things.
Oh, that's not what we're talking about.
That's not what
It's not the
You're in
discussion.
Mexico.
And just offhand, you could have one of these stick TV sets. Like Intel has got a stick TV. It's like it's not much bigger than that Fire Stick, the Amazon Fire Stick, but it's a full PC. And you plug it into your HDMI connector and you power it with like a USB cable. And when it starts up, it's a Windows 10 computer running through your TV. So now you have Windows 10 broadcasting on your TV. Well, since it's Windows 10, you can do all of that kind of stuff because it's a full Windows 10 PC. You can screen capture whatever it is you're putting on the screen because what you're putting on the screen is going through the computer. It's coming from the computer. It's basically a computer with your TV set. So if you're watching something on your computer and you go, hey, that would be a picture to have, you could just do a screen capture of it and stick it on a USB drive, take it over somewhere else and share it with some other device. I can't remember the exact name of it. Intel builds, well, and you'll find a bunch of Chinese knockoffs on Amazon. What they are is their model is like the Fire TV stick.
It's a computer on a stick.
It's a computer on a stick. That's right. So, no, I'm talking about, gosh, what is the name? Theo, what's the name of it? I know you're still listening. What is the name of it? I know you know what it is. Come on. Help me out here. Intel has been selling this stick TV, or not TV, stick computer. And he says he doesn't know. Intel stick computer. Oh, but he's looking for us. Here it is, Atom processor, 1.44 gigahertz, 2 gigabytes of RAM, 32 gigabytes of storage. Sells for $132.
That's ATOM or?
It's an Intel Compute Stick is the name of it. And I would get the 4 gigs with 64 and a 1.6 gigahertz, but it is this big. It just is intended to plug into the back of a TV set to an HDMI. It turns your TV into the monitor. Yeah, you have to bring your own keyboard and mouse, which would be like a Bluetooth device, so that you can use it. But when you're done, you've got a full-fledged Windows 10 PC on 6 right,
Or 8 or whatever.
or the 147-inch that they showed off at CES.
Roll it up and take it with you.
12 foot.
Roll it back up and take it with you.
Yeah, right. Roll it up. Right. Now, I've always been intrigued by these devices because you could have a great infrastructure in front of you. You could have a really nice TV set or a really nice monitor system. I tend to find them mutually exclusive. And what's driving it has just gotten antiquated. Like maybe you have a great display, but your manufacturer has decided to orphan your smart capabilities, which you're finding with a lot of older model Samsung TVs. Is they're not building new apps for them. They don't have an updated platform. Things like Netflix, you could imagine, start falling off of those smart TVs, and you have to find another way to get Netflix by adding a Roku stick or a Fire TV stick. That's what makes this stuff intriguing, is that you could take a display that has lost its smart has gone real dumb, and you can make it smart again just by one of these and plugging it into the HDMI in, and now it's an insanely smart TV.
Roku has a built-in Miracast app in it. You can take your Windows 10 and cast it through your Roku onto the TV.
Well, that's right, and there's good reasons for that. That has lots of advantages, like we were just talking about with Miracast, doing it from phones and mobile devices. But there is a lot to be said for having a station that's ready to go regardless of a device next to it.
So my situation right now is we have a small TV in a corner, my desk is down below, and I have a computer. So if I want to watch HBO through Comcast and I just run my HDMI up, I put it on here, and it goes up there, and we watch it. but there's a big TV down the other end of the room. So if I have one of these sticks, I can just put a keyboard somewhere near it, and then just do the whole thing on the big TV there, instead of running a 25-foot HDMI cable over there.
That's right. That's right. Or you could be doing Miracast, which wouldn't require the cable. But
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
there's a different experience when you're working on a computer versus casting a computer to a display.
My issue, I can't stand the speakers on television, especially when you're playing some music on television. And I can't find, I think you could do it with a sound bar, but I don't know, but, I have several sets of those little $60 speakers that are fabulous, and I put them on all my computers, but I can't get one to go into my TV, because there's no place to put it.
Is there no Bluetooth on your TV?
No. Yeah, these speakers aren't Bluetooth, they just, so what you're saying is you gotta get a Bluetooth lead?
Well, Bluetooth has become the lowest common denominator.
Is it really?
If you've got Bluetooth in your TV, then you're going to be able to cast sound to any speaker within range.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I'm the one in the family that gets up the earliest, and sometimes I just want to veg on the couch, so I Bluetooth some headphones to my TV set, and I lie there watching a 60-inch screen with my headsets on. They're the same headsets I use for my phone or for my computer.
Now they have hearing aids.
That's right. The hearing aids are very quickly falling into the consumer space. They're falling out of health and prescription into your own personal choices. The same way you would buy a phone, you could buy hearing aids.
Probably says Harbor Freight has hearing aids.
Yeah. And they do. $10. $10.
Hey,
$10. So they're better than the ones I've got for $1,500.
hey, I've got one topic I really thought was appropriate to share today, and I would like to share it before we get out of here. And I mean, we're switching gears because we're kind of going back to how do you reset a computer to give it away. You all know that this computer had to be sent away for the battery to be replaced, and so I was without it for a couple of weeks. And I thought that it would be good for me to talk about getting warranty work done on a computer and what you're really at risk doing that, because your computer is the thing that has all this personal information in it. And I so very quickly will take advantage of a warranty that I forget to make people aware that I would never send my data off.
So you stripped it beforehand?
I totally stripped it using the same kind of techniques that we were talking about earlier. But before I did that, let me praise the system image backup. That since Windows Vista has had a system image backup, and in Windows 10 it's called the Windows 7 system image backup. And what that is a complete backup of everything, the whole personality of your computer. This is different than restoring files that were lost. This is, in essence, what was on the hard drives as they sit. You do a system image backup, it takes forever, like we were talking about.
Hours.
Could take 24 hours to back up. You have it on external, reliable backup area. I would be a bad consultant if I didn't tell you should have two, but I did only do one. But you should have two in case one fails. And what that allows me to do is go in and wipe the entire computer back to scratch and send it off and feel comfortable that nobody's perusing my files or making a backup for later. There's nothing to grab off of the computer. And I was just very happy when I got the computer back yesterday afternoon. I took it home, I plugged it in, I started the system image restore, and at the end of a few hours, my computer was exactly the same as before I sent it. All my passwords are in there, all my favorites, everything is in there, because that's what a system image backup is.
That's available in Windows 10?
It's been available in Windows since Vista. Yeah. Other portions of backup have changed since Vista, like we have this file history backup that showed up in Windows 8, but this system image backup has been available since Vista, and I always use it and forget to mention it to people because it's such a great resource, and you only need it when you need it.
Where is that found?
Well, actually, in Windows 10, you can type up system image, in the search right there at the start, and it'll come up system image backup, or type in backup, and you'll find all the different backup options. But the key thing in Windows 10 or Windows 8 is you'll hear it referred to as the Windows 7 system backup, system image backup. You'll see the words Windows 7, and you'll know you're looking at the right thing.
But you're not sure unless somebody's told you that.
That's right. I mean, you will think you have the wrong thing unless you would listen to me say you're looking at the right thing.
Does that save programs too?
It saves everything. It is a duplicate of how your hard drives are put together, bit by bit. To your external source. You provide it with an external source. And that's where I say, as a good computer consultant, I must insist you have 2 copies in case one of those external sources dies.
Keep one copy outside of your home.
That's right. It's bad consulting for me not to insist. That's the way you do it. If you don't do it like that and you lose your data, it's your own fault, because you should understand that even your backup could fail. And if you do something like wipe your computer after you've made a system image backup, you're really trusting that one source not to have any problems.
I bought a new backup.
Yeah?
What is it, 4 terabytes of info on it? Does my phone and everything.
Yes, Theo, it works on Windows 7. Yes. Yes. Where is? You're very welcome. Can I answer any other questions before we call it?
Well, thank the gentleman who gave us the info on that.
You hear that, Theo? You're getting a thank you for your information.
Tell him I'll buy him breakfast if he comes down.
If you come back to San Carlos, Paul says breakfast is on him.
Well, I need to test them.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Gary. Okay.
Today is nuts.
Oh, I know.
Ray, you had a question?
Yes, what was your initial problem with the ASUS?
With the ASUS battery, it ended up, in fact, I reported it under warranty on the last day of its warranty. I didn't even realize it until I was having to pull out my purchase information that it was getting reported on the last day of warranty. And that week, I don't know if you remember, but my computer was shutting down. The battery had moved from being a 5 to 6 hour battery to a 2 to 3 hour battery.
My ASUS is probably 6 years old now, and I'm noticing that the battery doesn't have a lot of life. So.
We should have another discussion about batteries again, because I've just had it reinforced to me how all our old thinking in batteries is wrong nowadays. And you really should be keeping all your devices topped up, plugged in as often as possible, if you want to see these batteries have as extended life as possible. It's like it's not good.
Less of a hassle. If you have a kid, though, you just plug it in. You don't have to worry about charging it up every 3 days.
This is really the world we're living in now. Is you come home, you plug your phone in to be charged. You're sitting at your desk, you plug your phone in to be charged. You're driving in the car, you plug your phone in to be charged.
Tell us a little bit more about putting your battery in the refrigerator. I'm going to put the refrigerator. I'm serious.
It's on YouTube. Yeah, it's got to be right. That's what I say, and I'm sticking to it. You better be ready to throw that battery in the trash before you do that.
My wife wouldn't hold the charge. You couldn't walk away from the power for 3 feet and it would die. I plugged it I put it in the freezer, plugged it back in, and now she has an hour. She doesn't have 100%, but she's got some.
I totally believe you. And battery is a chemical thing. So I think the possibilities of bringing some life back is very genuine. All I'm saying is you should be ready to throw it away before you put it in the freezer. Like you should have reached that point where it's like, well, I'm just going to chuck it anyway. Let's see if the freezer can fix it.
You go on YouTube and it tells you how to fix it. I've got the electric drills and stuff, and I had one battery go dead, and it told me to hook it up to an 18-volt battery. It told me to hook it up to 36 volts and tap the terminals.
Yeah.
Plug it
Again, another technique. Ready to throw the battery in the trash. Yeah. That's, I'm not disagreeing with the potential of these things working. I'm just reinforcing you better be ready to throw it away before you do these things.
I decided not to put it in the freezer, I put it in the refrigerator,
Okay.
okay?
I don't see the fridge as being any kind of problem. I don't know if it would fix it either.
How about just a cool, dark spot?
A cool dark. Well, honestly, I feel like that's the safest place for a battery is a cool, dry spot with room temperature.
You missed one place to plug the phone in. You're sitting on a pole plugged into the Christmas lights.
Oh, that's right. That's
See you
right.
next week, Scott. You take your battery out.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining me. This has been the San Carlos Computer Club. Theo, thanks for joining us today. You were a big help. You're welcome back next week.
It's nice to have friends like Theo.
Yeah, it's good to have people like Theo show up. And
I see he said
what did he say?
that's why I'm listening, but I'm not sure which part of the response was.
He's listening because he's sitting at work bored, I think.
But you said, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Lunchtime now. Lunchtime.
Well, this has been the San Carlos Computer Club. I'm Scott Stimson. Theo says goodbye, and it's cold in New York City.
It's not cold here. Everywhere.
Very welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Scott.
We meet here on Tuesdays at Tequila's from 9:15 to 10:15. Anyone's welcome to join us. If you're interested in what we do, check out our website at scclub.org. If you're looking for computer help in San Carlos, please give my offices a call at 226-0209 or check out our website at internationalcs.net. I gotta go. Tech on. See you next week.